Hey guys, tonight we slip quietly into the flickering candlelight of an ancient Kyoto pleasure district, where the scent of grilled eel floats on the night air, mingling with powdered sandalwood and whispers behind paper doors. You're not just a visitor here. You are the courtesan. Every step you take is measured, every gaze calculated. Silk rustles softly with your movement, and the clack of wooden geta echoes off narrow alleyways. But here's the twist: you're not just surviving on poetry and pillow talk. You've got to eat. And that's where the illusion cracks just a little. Because beneath the elegance and charm, there's hunger. And it's not always romantic. Tonight you'll discover that a courtesan's diet wasn't just dainty bites and perfumed teas. Sometimes it was leftover rice soaked in lukewarm broth. Sometimes it was pickled roots shared behind a screen with another woman whose smile hides a lifetime of secrets. You probably won't survive this evening's menu not without a serious rethink of what luxury used to mean. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop your current location and local time in the comments too. I'd love to see where and when you're tuning in from. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. It begins in the floating world Ukiyo. You're in Yoshiwara, the most famous red light district of Edo period Japan. Tall wooden gates mark the entrance, guarded by the quiet weight of expectation. Inside, it's a city within a city. The streets are perfectly arranged in a grid with lanterns swaying overhead, and the sounds of shamisen plucking away melancholy melodies. Your world is performance, art, seduction wrapped in ritual. Your day begins not with food, but with presentation. Hours are spent preparing layering kimono-fixing hair into ornate towers with combs and pins, applying white face paint that cracks slightly if you laugh too hard. Meals, they come after. Sometimes, if there's time. You sit at a small lacquer tray, knees tucked under. The first dish, okayu, a rice porridge, warm and plain. It's easy on the stomach. Sometimes it has pickled plum stirred in for a hint of tartness. Other days, a salted radish on the side. You eat quickly because you're expected downstairs to greet clients by dusk. You're not hungry enough to savor, just enough to avoid fainting. In your mind, food is not indulgence, it's fuel. The real indulgence is for the men, wealthy merchants, poets, samurai, those who come seeking fantasy. They bring lavish bento boxes, sometimes filled with layered treats from the best restaurants in Edo. You sit with them, serve them, even sample a bit yourself. Delicate slices of sashimi tamagoyaki, sweetened with mirin. You smile, tilt your head, take a bite as if it's your first taste of luxury. But it's not yours. You're part of the performance, and the food is too. Behind the curtain in the servants' quarters, there's a separate tray waiting. Cold noodles in broth, perhaps. Or yesterday's miso soup reheated over an iron kettle. You eat with the other women perched on the edges of crates and boxes, whispering gossip, your sleeves rolled up. If you're lucky, there's grilled fish. If not, it's pickled gourd and leftover rice again. Even the hierarchy of courtesans dictates the menu. As a high-ranking oiran, you might enjoy special offerings, delicate konbu rolls, or sweetened beans gifted by a regular patron. But if you're just starting out, the Kamuro girl running errands and cleaning brushes, you'll settle for scraps. You won't complain. It's better than the rice gruel you had back in your village. When a festival rolls around, things change. The district becomes a lantern-lit dream. Food stalls line the entryways, and even courtesans are allowed a taste of seasonal joy. You savor kuromon, black soybeans cooked until sweet. Or grab a bite of skewered dango dripping with soy glaze. It's a rare moment of indulgence, and you eat slowly, savoring every bite because you know it won't come again soon. You learn quickly not to waste. You tuck dried fish skins into your sleeve for later. You trade favors for a bite of sweet potato brought in by a merchant from the countryside. You memorize the rhythm of the kitchen fires downstairs, knowing when something fresh might pass through your fingers before it's taken upstairs to entertain a guest. But late at night, when the guests are gone and the makeup's wiped away, you sit by the coals with your fellow women. The last meal is often the quietest. Just a small bowl of rice tea, some warm water steeped with toasted grains. It's earthy, bitter, and calming. You sip slowly, eyes heavy, not from hunger, but from everything else. And you think of home, not this world of silk and performance, but the tiny room you left behind. The miso soup your mother made thin and watery. The bowl of barley rice your sister shared with you, sneaking an extra pickled cucumber onto your tray. It wasn't glamorous, but it was real. Here, food is ritual, but it's also survival. And survival tastes different when it's covered in powdered rouge and false smiles. Tomorrow, there will be more clients, more performances, more trays to carry dishes to serve bites to fake. But for now, you set down the bowl, pull your knees to your chest, and let yourself drift into sleep, your stomach, neither full nor truly empty, just balanced somewhere in between like everything else in your world. You wake before dawn. The tatami beneath you creaks softly as you shift, and the cool air of the room clings to your skin. The incense from last night has faded, replaced by the faint smell of damp ash and wood polish. Your stomach growls just slightly, not from desperation, but from the learned habit of empty mornings. You stretch silently, careful not to disturb the other women, still wrapped in their futons. There's no alarm clock here, just the rhythm of the house. You know when the kitchen girl starts boiling water, and when the first servant begins sweeping the front walk. That's your cue. Downstairs, the cook is already bent over a clay stove, coaxing steam from a pot of miso soup. She ladles some into small bowls, each portion thinner than the last. Yours has no tofu today, just seaweed, a few scallions floating like green ribbons. You accept it without comment. That's what breakfast is: simple, fast, forgettable. There's also rice, but not the polished kind reserved for clients. This is mugi gohan barley mixed with rice to stretch it further. The grains are chewy, a little coarse, but filling. You eat slowly, your eyes scanning the room. The senior courtesans don't eat here. They'll have trays brought to their chambers, something finer perhaps. You envy them only a little. You've learned that appearances are everything, and behind those sliding screens, they might just be eating the same barley rice, only with a prettier bowl. Food in this world is about status. It's never just about hunger. What you eat when you eat, and who sees you eating, it all feeds into the illusion. If a client catches you devouring grilled mackerel in the kitchen, like a farmer's wife, the spell is broken. You must always look as if you float through life, eating delicately, barely needing sustenance, nourished by poetry alone. By midday, your appetite is gone, swallowed by routine. There's no formal lunch, just nibbles. A bite of tsukemono pickled vegetables snatched between dressing sessions. A sip of tea brewed too long. If someone brought back sweets from the outer districts, wagashi made from red bean paste and sticky rice, you're lucky to steal a taste. Once a client gifted you a rare treat, a seasonal delicacy from Kyoto Ayu sweet fish, grilled with salt, wrapped in bamboo leaves. You didn't eat it right away. Instead, you stared at it for hours, marveling at the delicate char on the skin, the way the tail curled as if still mid-swim. When you finally took a bite, it was cold, the magic gone. But still, you remembered. Later that day, you're seated beside a new client. He's young, nervous, and eager to impress. He orders a full spread from the nearby tea house. The dishes arrive on stacked trays, gleaming lacquer, gold-painted lids. He lifts each one with exaggerated care, hoping to see your eyes widen. There's nimono vegetables simmered in soy and dashi. Kaiseki-style grilled eggplant topped with miso glaze. A small bowl of vinegared octopus with daikon. It's beautiful, of course. You ooh and ah in all the right places. You taste just enough to be polite, but your stomach clenches at the richness. It's not used to this kind of fat or flavor. You haven't eaten like this in months. You'll pay for it later. He offers you a sweet rice cake wrapped in a sakura leaf. You take it with a practiced smile and nibble just the edge. Behind your eyes, you're calculating how many more bites you can manage without looking rude or worse, greedy. You don't want him to think you're starving. You want him to think you're enchanted. Later, after he leaves and the dishes are cleared away, you slip upstairs where another woman is rinsing her mouth over a bowl. You do the same. Not because the food was bad, but because keeping it down feels like too much, too rich, too unfamiliar. Courtesans weren't meant to feast. You're meant to appear as though the idea of fullness is poetic, not practical. Evening creeps in again. Candles are lit, kimono laid out. You sip a warm barley tea. Someone downstairs is boiling sweet potatoes for the older attendants. You catch the smell and feel something flicker inside you. Comfort, nostalgia. Maybe just longing. You slip past the kitchen later and see a tray set aside for you. Rice balls wrapped in nori sprinkled with sesame. Plain, dependable. You eat one in silence, the saltiness soothing your tongue, the starch settling in your belly like a gentle sigh. In a corner, one of the newer girls is weeping silently. You don't ask why. You offer her the second rice ball instead. She takes it, nods, and says nothing. Sometimes food is the only kindness allowed. And when the night ends, long after the guests are gone and the makeup is scrubbed off with rice bran paste, you lie in the dark with a full belly, not from opulence, but from survival. The taste of sesame lingers on your tongue, and you smile faintly in the quiet. Tomorrow brings another round of performances. But for now, you rest fed and still. The next morning starts before your body is ready. Your eyes open to shadows, soft blue-gray light slipping through the rice paper shoji. You slept in your underrobe, too tired to change, too weary to fold yourself into neat lines of modesty. That's fine. No one's looking at you now. In this quiet hour, you are just a woman, not a performance. Your stomach murmurs again, not hunger exactly, more like expectation. The body remembers routine even when the heart forgets joy. Downstairs, the fire crackles to life. You wrap a faded shawl around your shoulders and make your way past the rooms of women still dreaming or pretending to. The cook greets you with a nod. She's slicing daikon radish, quick practiced strokes. A pot steams beside her filled with morning broth. You take your place at the low table. Today's breakfast is zosui, a thin rice soup made from leftovers lightly salted with slivers of green onion and a few stray mushrooms. You cradle the bowl in your hands like it's precious. Because it is. This meal won't fill you, but it centers you. The warmth travels down your throat and settles in your chest. For a moment, you close your eyes. You think of your father's voice, your mother's hands, a small field somewhere far from here. Zosui brings it back, if only for a blink. There's also pickled turnip, yellow and crisp. The vinegar bites your tongue. It's meant to stimulate the appetite, but really it just reminds you how much stronger flavors used to be before everything became muted by ritual and routine. By noon, there's a small commotion in the outer hall. A samurai's entourage has arrived, and with it, gifts. These are your favorite moments, not because of the clients, but because of what they bring. Wrapped in cloth are small lacquer boxes, each tied with string. Inside treasures. You're allowed to open one. The contents make your eyes widen. A seasonal bento arranged like art. Roasted chestnuts glazed with soy and sugar. Slices of bamboo shoot. And one delicate piece of eel rolled tightly and speared with a pine needle for garnish. This is not food, it's theater. But here's the truth, you know, and no one says you're not supposed to eat much of it. You taste, of course, because it would be rude not to. But you're trained to nibble, to sigh, to admire the presentation more than the substance. A bite of chestnut, a pause, a compliment. You tuck the eel away in your sleeve for later. Later means nightfall. The eel will be cold, the glaze hardened, but it will still taste like privilege. You've learned to stretch pleasure across hours, to chew slowly, quietly in the dark, where no one watches you savor what was never really meant for you. Back upstairs, you help one of the girls dress. Her obi is too loose. You tighten it, pat her shoulder. She thanks you and offers a treat in return, konpeito, bright sugar candies brought by a merchant from Nagasaki. They're not nourishing, but their sharp sweetness hits your mouth like sunlight. You bite down and feel it crack, and for a second, it feels like joy. That night, there's a private party in one of the tea rooms. You've been requested. A minor nobleman and his guests. You greet them with smiles, slow bows, compliments polished to a sheen. They're already drinking. Sake flows. You pour, you laugh, you pretend. But you don't drink much. Alcohol dulls the edge and you need your edge. You need to listen, to steer conversation, to notice who's slipping coins into sleeves or pressing too close. The food is grand again, grilled river fish, sweet egg custard in tiny bowls, lotus root shaped like flowers. You sample a little, just enough to be polite. Again. The real food comes after, once the men are gone and the laughter has vanished. Down in the kitchen, the cook has scraped together the leftovers, bits of fish, a few root vegetables, some greens wilted in oil. You sit on a wooden crate sharing with two others. You eat in silence, the only sound the clicking of chopsticks against ceramic. This meal is honest. It isn't art. It's nourishment scraped from the edges of someone else's banquet. And it tastes better than anything you had upstairs. When you return to your room, the girl next to you is asleep, her kimono still half open, hairpins scattered. You lie beside her, pulling the thin blanket over both of you. The warmth is shared. The silence is sacred. And you wonder, not for the first time, how long your body can keep moving like this, smiling on command, eating in fragments, feasting only on appearances. But for now, you are full enough. You are warm enough. You close your eyes and drift into dreams, shaped like daikon slices and konpeito stars. The scent of roasting barley pulls you from sleep. You blink slowly, disoriented by the early light cutting through the lattice. Someone downstairs is already stirring the coals and a faint knock tells you it's time. Not for anything special, just another morning in the tea house. You slip from under your blanket and tug your sleeves down, smoothing the creases from your robe movements, automatic mind still foggy. Breakfast today is different. A visiting merchant left behind some provisions left over from his journey. It's nothing extravagant, but it feels luxurious compared to the usual. There's tamago gohan, a raw egg stirred into steaming barley rice, the yolk bright and glossy, mixed with a splash of soy sauce. The result is creamy, salty, rich. You stir it with practiced hands, then lift the bowl to your lips and drink in the steam before taking your first bite. It's simple, deeply comforting, and rare. You linger over it just a little, Someone offers a pickled plum from their plate, and you exchange a piece of your daikon in return. This small barter feels like a feast, these moments of food shared not as performance, but as quiet solidarity. No one here is really full. You've just learned to measure satisfaction in slivers. Mid-morning brings lessons. You're not just trained to sing or paint or pour tea, you're also trained in taste. Today the house mother places 3 small dishes in front of you, each carefully prepared for demonstration. One is goma ee spinach dressed in sesame paste. One is sunamono cucumber with vinegar and kelp. The last is a sliver of cold grilled mackerel. You must taste, identify, comment. This isn't about indulgence, it's about refinement. Knowing how to speak of flavors, how to describe a dish without seeming greedy. You take a tiny bite of the mackerel and say, "It's sharp with salt, but the skin has bitterness from the flame." The house mother nods. You've passed this small test. This too is survival. If you can speak of flavor, you control it. You're no longer just a girl who eats, you're a woman who understands the language of food. Lunch comes in the form of absence. There's no formal meal, just passing trays. One of the junior girls brings you a small ball of rice wrapped in bamboo leaf still warm. Inside is a surprise kombu tsukudani seaweed simmered in soy and mirin, intensely savory. You eat it quickly, seated on the stairs, knees pressed to your chest. A swallow of barley tea finishes the meal. You can't linger, your afternoon is already claimed. A new client has asked for an afternoon walk in the garden court, where plum blossoms have just started to fall. You prepare yourself, touches of rouge hair neatly pinned. When he arrives, he offers you a treat wrapped in delicate rice paper, yatsuhashi cinnamon-scented mochi folded like petals. You take it gently, break it in half, and eat only one piece. You offer the rest back, and he insists. Still, you leave a bite untouched. Not because you aren't hungry, but because hunger must never show on your face. To be seen enjoying food too eagerly is to crack the illusion that you exist on moonlight and poetry alone. In private, though you savor the second piece, you close your eyes as the chewy rice dough gives way to sweet bean paste. It tastes of care. Not love, perhaps, but intention. Evening falls quickly. Tonight a feast is being held by an older daimyo visiting the capital. You aren't invited to dine, only to attend, perform, entertain. But you know what that means, food in abundance. And food left behind. After hours of dancing, playing shamisen, reciting poems, you finally slip into the servants' corridor. The kitchen is chaos, bowls, half-full trays stacked high, smells of soy vinegar and charcoal thick in the air. One of the older women nods at you and points to a plate. There it is, untouched slices of Thai sashimi sea bream, a luxury fish usually reserved for weddings and New Year's. Its pale pink flesh glistens. You hesitate only a moment before popping one into your mouth. It's cold now, but delicate, faintly sweet and clean. A fleeting moment of purity in a world that never quite is. You help yourself to a small ball of sekihan glutinous rice steamed with red beans. It's sticky, filling, comforting. A festival food, but tonight it's just your late dinner. You chew slowly, letting it ground you, after hours of floating through pleasantries and poetry you didn't mean. Someone hands you a bowl of miso soup, the dregs really, but it's warm. You hold it close. You all share the same tired smile. This is your real meal. This is your reward. As you head back to your room, one of the girls presses a paper-wrapped bundle into your palm. Inside is a grilled rice cake, senbei still crisp. "He left it for you," she says quietly. You nod, tuck it away. You'll eat it later, maybe in bed, maybe in the dark when the world is still and the mask has slipped. and when you lie down, the last crunch of senbei still on your tongue, you feel a strange fullness, not of food, but of small victories, of claiming pleasure in a life where you are often meant to give, not receive. You're roused by a sound, not a bell, not a voice, but the rustling of silk, the subtle creak of polished floorboards. Another day has begun, but your limbs are slow to follow. You sit up carefully, body aching in quiet places you've long since stopped noticing. You reach for the bundle tucked under your folded robe from the night before the leftover senbei. Just a bite remains. It's soft now, stale from the night air, but it still carries the scent of soy and charred rice. You nibble it silently, the crunch muted but still satisfying. There's no time to reflect on flavor. A courier has arrived bringing word of a sudden appointment. A visiting poet from Osaka, wealthy, curious, expecting charm, and likely a taste of the floating world's famed hospitality. That means another performance, and another chance to taste from someone else's tray. But first, your own meal. Downstairs, the morning kitchen is as busy as ever, but you slip in early and manage to receive a small bowl of miso shiru. It's bracing, more salty than usual, perhaps overstirred but hot. The cook apologizes with her eyes but says nothing. You bow slightly in thanks, even if your stomach tightens. You drink it down anyway. There's also a wedge of Napa cabbage, lightly pickled, and half a rice ball from yesterday's pot. Cold, but enough. While the Maiko girls practice their dances, you sit quietly in the corner, folding letters you've written to no one. A habit now. The repetition keeps your hands busy and your mind tethered. Sometimes you sketch mostly bowls, food, the little things you wish you could prepare yourself if you had a kitchen of your own. The poet arrives in the early afternoon. Older, amused with himself, soft in the cheeks, but sharp in observation. He offers you a gift upon arrival, kuri kinton, a chestnut and sweet potato confection from the mountains near Gifu. Carefully wrapped in waxed paper, it smells of autumn and nostalgia. You share a piece with him while he recites a haiku that's clever but forgettable. The confection is smooth, delicate. You chew slowly, nod appreciatively, let the taste anchor you while you nod at all the right lines. He asks what you most enjoy eating. You smile demurely and say, sakura leaves in spring, roasted rice in winter. A lie, but a beautiful one. When the conversation drifts, he requests music. You play shamisen, your fingers nimble while he sips tea and munches more of the chestnut paste. You don't get another piece and you don't expect to. That's the rule. The gifts are to be admired, not consumed. Later you pass the kitchen again. The cook is roasting small strips of burdock root gobo in sesame oil. The smell is earthy familiar. You ask quietly if you might help. She hands you a pan to stir. For 10 minutes, you are not a courtesan. You are a girl again, helping your aunt prepare vegetables for supper. You let the scent cling to your sleeves. The cook lets you steal a taste. The burdock is firm, slightly bitter, but the oil softens it. A hint of soy, a whisper of sugar. It's not elegant food. It's not meant to impress. But it tastes of home, or at least something solid. By dusk, the house is humming again. Guests arriving, lanterns being lit. You're called upstairs to entertain a small gathering. One of the women gestures to a tray, Odin tonight's feature dish brought in from a famous stall outside the district. It's a mixed stew, simmered slowly all day, chunks of daikon tofu, boiled eggs, konjac, and fish cakes floating in a broth of dashi and soy. The scent is heavenly. You don't dare touch it until offered. When a man slides his bowl toward you and gestures for you to try, you take a piece of daikon soft to the core, dripping with savory flavor, and bite in. It's hot, too hot. You nearly wince, but you mask it with a smile and fan your mouth slightly. The room laughs gently, pleased with your reaction. You're playing your role, grateful, graceful, never greedy, even as your tongue burns. The night stretches on with more small bites. A bit of simmered kombu, a sliver of sweet omelet, half a mochi that's too sticky to eat neatly. You excuse yourself after the last toast and slip away into the corridor. There's a tray waiting with cold barley tea and a steamed bun filled with red bean paste manju. A quiet thank you from the house mother. You eat it slowly, grateful. When you finally return to your room full in a soft, aching kind of way, you light a single candle and sit near the window. The night air is cool against your face. In the distance you hear the clink of dishes, the last of the guests being sent home. You think about the taste of the daikon, about the heat, about how even a single bite of something real can anchor you to yourself again. And with that thought, you pull the futon over your legs and let sleep take you. The scent of soy smoke lingers in your hair when you wake. You run your fingers through the strands, noting how the sweet, savory air of last night clings like memory. Your pillow still holds the faint imprint of your cheek, your body heavy from the weight of too much pretending and not quite enough rest. Downstairs, you're not the first to rise, but you move with purpose. Your mind is already anticipating what the kitchen might hold this morning. Something warm, something starchy, something that does not talk back or ask for poetry. The cook greets you with a nod and gestures to a pot gently bubbling on the stove. She lifts the lid, tonjiru, pork soup rich with miso root vegetables and thinly sliced pork belly. It's not common someone must have brought meat. A gift, a celebration, or maybe leftovers from a visiting daimyo's discarded feast. You're handed a small bowl barely half full. Even so, the scent of daikon burdock and fermented miso hits you with an unexpected wave of emotion. It smells like care, like warmth that wasn't meant for show. You crouch by the stove, holding the bowl between your palms. The first sip is overwhelming, deep, fatty grounding. You haven't had pork in weeks. The richness curls in your chest, then settles low. You chew the soft slices of carrot and potato slowly, reverently. This is a rare kind of nourishment, not just for the body, but for the spirit. You whisper a silent thanks, though you don't know to whom. The day moves quickly after that. There's a dance to rehearse for tonight's guest, a lord from a northern province who requested the evening heron performance. You won't eat again until after dusk, so you sneak a sweet into your sleeve, kuzumochi, a jelly-like rice cake dusted in kinako flour. It's cloying and nutty, easy to keep hidden, even easier to forget, until your fingers graze it mid-performance, and remember there's something waiting. While dressing, another courtesan gifts you a mandarin orange, a rare luxury this time of year. He left it behind, she says with a shrug. Too sour for him. You accept it gratefully, peel it slowly, segment by segment. The juice drips between your fingers. It's tart, bright like a slap and a kiss all at once. There's no lunch, just tea and air. You fill the empty hours by writing menus in your head. Fantasies. A hot bowl of udon with thick noodles and green onions. Roasted yams split open and steaming. Grilled chicken skewers slick with soy and charcoal. These aren't meals you expect. They're dreams. Comforts too ordinary for a world built on performance. Evening falls and the air cools. The house shifts into its twilight rhythm, bustle, and grace movement. Behind screens, shadows on lacquered floors. You're called into the central chamber, where the guests are already laughing, their cups refilled before they've emptied. The food is showy tonight. Imported delicacies, sea cucumber in jelly, fermented squid, thin slices of raw fugu, deadly if prepared poorly. You smile as you serve, say all the right words, but decline every offer to taste. You've learned. There are some dishes you don't risk too rich, too raw, too dangerous, when your body isn't used to anything more complex than rice and pickles. Someone offers you a grilled rice skewer, gohei mochi coated in miso and crushed walnuts. You take it bite once, nod appreciatively. It's sweet, salty, chewy comfort disguised in ceremonial shape. You only eat half, wrapping the rest in a napkin for later. After the guests have gone, after the lanterns are dimmed, and the makeup is washed from your eyes, you walk alone to the back garden. The air is cold, but clean. You sit beneath the bare branches of a plum tree, unwrapping the leftover rice skewer and finishing it in silence. No one watches you here. No one expects charm or poetry. Here you are, just a woman eating rice in the dark, grateful for a meal that tastes like something your grandmother might have made if she'd had miso and walnuts and a reason to celebrate. You go to sleep with that taste still in your mouth, sweet and savory, and feel just for a moment something close to contentment. Morning breaks, slowly filtered through soft gray clouds, and a sky that never quite commits to sun. You stir beneath your futon fingers, curling into the fabric as the sounds of sweeping brooms and clinking ladles rise from below. Another day, another mask to wear, but first another chance to eat before performance becomes your armor. Today, the kitchen is quieter. The cook moves more slowly, nursing a sore shoulder. You offer to help wash rice and she lets you. You kneel beside the wooden basin, hands submerged, swirling grains in circles until the water runs milky, then clear. There's something deeply meditative about this act, rhythmic grounding. The kind of motion that ties you to the earth instead of floating above it in painted silk. When the rice is steamed and scooped into bowls, you're served yours with a single topping furikake, a blend of dried fish flakes, sesame seeds, and seaweed. It's salty, savory, and simple. You sprinkle it over the steaming rice, watching the flakes curl with the heat. Your chopsticks hover before diving in. Each bite tastes like balance. This isn't a feast, but it's enough. It fills the quiet places in you that no poem ever could. Midday brings visitors. No official engagements, just patrons stopping by to offer gifts, hoping to be remembered. One leaves behind a small tray of kashiwa mochi soft rice cakes filled with red bean paste and wrapped in oak leaves, traditionally served during boys' festivals, but here they're simply a token. You take one, unwrap it slowly, and savor the chew of the rice, the sweetness of the paste, the bitterness of the leaf that brushes your tongue, but isn't meant to be eaten. You tuck the rest away, one for later and for a younger girl who hasn't yet learned how to smile without hunger behind her eyes. As evening approaches, a delivery arrives from a renowned Kyoto confectioner. Your name is on the note, a reward from a satisfied client. The box contains namagashi seasonal sweets crafted to look like flowers, and leaves made from bean paste rice flour and pure artistry. They are almost too beautiful to eat. One looks like a chrysanthemum, another a maple leaf in soft orange hues. You select the chrysanthemum, pressing it gently between your fingers before taking a bite. It's smooth, sweet, delicate. A moment of indulgence that feels personal, not performative. You close your eyes and let it melt on your tongue, resisting the urge to devour more. You'll share the rest. Beautiful things are best when not hoarded. Dinner comes late after a surprise guest lingers long past sunset. When he finally leaves, too drunk to remember half of what he said, you slump against the corridor wall and let your breath escape in one long sigh. The kitchen is dark, but still warm. A single bowl waits for you, ochazuke leftover rice steeped in green tea garnished with pickled plum and a few flakes of dried salmon. It's comfort in a bowl. Not luxurious, but honest. You carry it to your room and eat by candlelight, letting the tea soothe your throat and the salt cut through the fatigue. As you finish the last sip, you realize you've eaten quietly today. No performances, no rehearsed reactions, just real food, real flavors, real moments. You lie back on your futon and let your eyes drift shut, the lingering taste of pickled plum on your lips. The world outside may be painted in gold and lies, but tonight, your dreams will taste like warm tea and sweet chestnut, like rice in the palm of your hand, shared not for show, but for solace. By now, your body knows the rhythm better than your mind. You wake not from noise, but from memory, muscle memory, routine memory, the invisible hand of discipline gently nudging you back into your role. Even your hunger has adapted. It no longer arrives in pangs, but in quiet nudges, a hollow flutter just beneath your ribs. Today it's raining. Light, steady, patient. The kind of rain that soaks in rather than storms through. The house is hushed under the weight of it. Wooden beams groan softly, and the air is thick with damp tatami and the faint scent of camellia oil from someone's evening hair ritual. You descend to the kitchen in bare feet. The fire has been slow to catch, and the room is still cool. The cook's voice is raspier than usual, her sleeves rolled past her elbows. She doesn't say much as she places a bowl in front of you. Udofu simmered tofu in hot water, served with grated ginger green onion, and a small dish of soy sauce for dipping. It's plain, humble, barely flavored, but it warms you in a way nothing else could. You lift the tofu with care. It wobbles soft and silken, and dip it gently into the sauce before tasting. It slides across your tongue like something unfinished, not quite food, not quite memory. You eat it slowly, letting the warmth settle into your bones, like quiet encouragement. Outside, the rain deepens. There will be fewer guests today, which means fewer trays to carry, fewer smiles to perform. You spend the morning writing nothing of importance, just lines of poetry you won't recite. A meditation, a means of reminding yourself that your mind, like your body, still belongs to you. In the afternoon, a delivery arrives from a distant province. A patron has sent dried persimmons, hoshigaki tied in bundles leathery and orange-brown. They smell of sweetness and sun. You're given one. You chew slowly, tearing the fruit with your teeth, savoring its sticky richness and grainy sugar crust. It tastes like patience, like winter, like something once fresh, now preserved by time and intention. You slip half into a napkin and hide it beneath your pillow. That one's for later. When dusk comes, you are called not to entertain, but to help prepare trays for those who still braved the rain. You carry dishes from the kitchen to the guest rooms. One tray tips slightly in your hands, nearly toppling a bowl of nimono-simmered pumpkin in dashi. You steady it just in time and glance around. No one saw. You breathe. Back in the kitchen, the cook hands you the slightly cracked bowl of pumpkin. "Can't serve it now," she mutters. You nod, take it gratefully. It's still warm, still soft, still sweet in that gentle soy-soaked way only Japanese pumpkin can be. You eat it crouched near the back entrance, watching the rain bead on the stone path outside. Later, another woman passes you a leftover rice ball wrapped in a wilted shiso leaf. It's cold, but you don't mind. The herb is sharp and almost metallic on your tongue, an abrupt contrast to the subtle sweetness of the pumpkin. You eat it all quietly, grateful. The night ends without fanfare. The house is still the rain a lullaby now. Back in your room, you finally pull the second half of the persimmon from beneath your pillow. You eat it in the dark, each bite sticky and slow. It no longer tastes like a gift. It tastes like a promise of sweetness, even in decay of richness that waits. You fall asleep chewing your fingers still tacky with dried fruit, and silence your dreams heavy and orange-tinged. The rain has passed by morning, leaving the world slick and shining. The rooftops drip steadily, each drop landing like a breath into the silence. You wake with your face turned toward the window, the light soft and filtered through moisture. Your pillow is damp from dew or dreams you can't tell which. Today feels slower, not by schedule but by texture. Even your limbs resist the usual rhythm, as if sensing something quieter ahead. You rise anyway, wrap yourself in your robe and head downstairs, where the kitchen already smells faintly of vinegar and rice. The first thing you notice on the counter is a wooden tub of sushi rice freshly fanned and cooling. The cook is forming small balls and pressing thin slices of tamago sweet omelet over them. Not for you, for a midday offering to a merchant who insists on Edo-style oshizushi whenever he visits. But as you pass, the cook drops a leftover end of omelet into your hand. No rice, no tray, just egg folded over egg still warm from the pan. You pop it into your mouth without hesitation. The flavor is deeply familiar egg mirandashi, the faintest hint of soy. It's soft and sweet with just enough salt to anchor it. You chew slowly, letting your mind follow the taste backward into memory. There's more today. A tray of inari sushi rice tucked into pouches of fried tofu. One of the kitchen girls offers you one in passing. You bow slightly and eat it as you walk the sweetness of the tofu skin, contrasting the tang of the vinegared rice. These are the tastes of the lower house filling sticky, unglamorous. But they're honest, and that honesty makes them sacred. Mid-morning, you help another courtesan dress. Her obi keeps slipping and her hands tremble from hunger. You press a small rice cracker into her palm. Later, you whisper, "After the songs." She nods her eyes soft with gratitude. By midday, guests begin to arrive. Today's crowd is more refined poets, calligraphers, lesser lords. They come not for flirtation, but for performance. You play shamisen, recite verse, serve tea. The meal you present to them is elaborate kaiseki dishes arranged like still life paintings, clear soup, with floating chrysanthemum petals, grilled river fish on maple leaves, yuzu-scented daikon curls beside a carved carrot flower. You do not eat, but you watch. You remember. Each plate they leave behind becomes your textbook. You note which pickles are untouched, which flavors they comment on. You learn silently what garnishes impress, what textures comfort, what bites are left for last. These you will recall later when you find scraps on a tray, or when you dream of opening a tea house of your own years from now, far from the floating world. Evening descends with gold and ash. You retreat briefly to your room and unwrap something hidden in your sleeve, a small onigiri stuffed with umeboshi pickled plum. Its sharp tang hits your tongue like a sudden gust of wind. You wince, then sigh. It's a taste that wakes you, holds you up, reminds you that food isn't always pleasure. Sometimes it's punctuation. Sometimes it's a pause. The night's final duty comes unexpectedly, a private sitting, with an elderly guest, quiet and gentle, who asks to share a pot of tea. You oblige, pouring genmaicha roasted rice tea into 2 small cups. He opens a cloth bundle and reveals a pair of Monaka crispy wafers filled with red bean paste. You accept one, bowing low, and bite in carefully. The wafers crackle and melt into sweetness. The bean paste is smooth, thick, subtly earthy. The moment stretches between you, suspended in steam and silence. You thank him softly. Later, lying in bed, you feel full not from the food, but from the smallness of it. A day with no feast, no overindulgence. Just bits, ends, edges, gifts that were not expected but arrived anyway. Your hands rest on your stomach as you drift off, still tasting the roasted tea, the tang of plum, the sugar of red beans pressed between crisp wafers. You dream of oranges, not the bitter mandarins you sometimes peel in the shadows, but whole, perfect citrus bursting with sun, sweet as honey. You wake with the imagined juice still on your tongue, your mouth dry from sleep, and the lingering edge of salt from last night's pickled plum. The house is stirring already. Footsteps, water splashing into basins, a door sliding closed with care. You rise slowly, wrapping your robe tighter as the floor chills your feet. Downstairs, the morning is alive with quiet industry. Today there's no rush, no grand appointment, no elaborate banquet looming, but that never means rest. The kitchen holds a surprise okonomiyaki or something close to it. A savory pancake battered together with cabbage and scallions, then fried until crisp. The cook is experimenting with leftover vegetables and bits of dried shrimp. Not standard fare for the house, but today she is bold. She cuts you a slice before anyone else arrives. You take it with both hands, the edges hot and just starting to cool, the center still steaming. There's no sauce, just a brush of soy and a pinch of seaweed flakes. The first bite is crunchy, salty, impossibly satisfying. It tastes like rebellion, like a meal made from odds and ends that somehow dares to be more than it should. You thank her and she just waves you off. You make a note to remember this recipe, not just for the flavor, but for the resourcefulness. Midday brings a lull. A wealthy client has canceled, and suddenly the day stretches open like a rare corridor of stillness. You use the time to mend a torn sleeve, then sit with the younger girls in the sunlit courtyard. One of them brings a shared plate of roasted soramami broad beans, lightly salted, split from their pods, and warm from the brazier. You each take turns eating slowly, carefully. There's a rhythm to it. Crack, peel, eat, smile. Crack, peel, eat, sigh. The sun is weak but kind. For a moment you all feel like sisters, not courtesans, not rivals, just women resting between performances. One girl pulls a small jar from her sleeve, yuzu kosho paste. Spicy, citrusy, potent. She dips a fingertip in and offers it to you. You hesitate, then taste. Fire blooms across your tongue, followed by the sharp brightness of yuzu. It brings tears to your eyes. Everyone laughs. So do you. Afternoon brings a quiet visitor, a painter who prefers tea and silence. He draws while you pour. There's no request for music, no flirting. Just you, him, and the faint scrape of brush on parchment. He gifts you a single steamed bun as thanks, anman filled with hot red bean paste. You bow deeply, tuck it away. You will not eat it now. That's for tonight. Evening unfolds without fanfare. A few patrons drift through sipping sake, speaking softly. Dinner is subdued, a bowl of takanoko gohan bamboo shoot rice, slightly crunchy, earthy, with a whisper of soy and sake. It's portioned modestly, but it feels luxurious. You eat slowly, taking small bites to stretch it out. Later, once your duties are done, you return to your room, light a candle, and finally unwrap the anman. It's still soft, still warm from the folds of your robe. You tear it open, letting the sweet steam rise. The bean paste is velvety rich, like a lullaby for your mouth. You eat it on your knees, staring out the window at the rooftops, watching a cat slink along the edge of a tile. The house is nearly silent now. You hear someone humming in another room. The melody is unfamiliar, but the tone is warm. And as you finish the last bite of bun, you wonder not for the first time if this quiet kind of eating this stolen meal in the dark is more sacred than any feast served on lacquered trays. You go to bed full, not with food alone, but with the day's small gifts, beans in the sun, laughter with spice. A painter's silence and a warm bun pressed gently into your hand. You wake to the sound of paper sliding, a screen door opening softly, followed by the muted shuffle of straw sandals on wood. Someone is delivering breakfast trays. You're not expecting one, but you sit up anyway, hair tousled, face pillow creased. The room is cold, and the blanket slips off your shoulders like silk on glass. No tray for you today. That's expected. You're not high-ranking enough to warrant morning delivery. But still you head downstairs, drawn by the smell grilled fish, unmistakable in its salty, smoky perfume. The cook sees you and nods toward a side plate. One piece of Aji horse mackerel left too small or too charred to present to a guest. You accept it with a grateful bow. It's just the tail section crisped along the bone, but the skin crackles as you bite in, and the flesh inside is still warm and tender. It tastes of ocean and fire and gratitude. Beside it, a bowl of plain white rice. Not barley, not mixed pure polished rice. A luxury. You scoop it slowly, mixing in just a little of the salty juices from the fish. There's also a strip of nori seaweed, damp from steam, but still rich in umami. You roll a bit of rice in it and eat with your fingers. No one's watching. You can be unceremonious. You can just eat. After breakfast, you return upstairs to clean combs and fold silk. Your hands move automatically. Your thoughts drift elsewhere. You start composing a dish in your mind, a stew maybe with daikon and beef tendon slow cooked until it melts on the tongue. You'll never cook it, not here. But imagining the layers, the fat softening the root vegetables soaking up broth, is a quiet pleasure. It's your private recipe book, invisible but treasured. By noon, a messenger arrives with gifts from a distant patron, dried scallops, and a small pouch of kinako roasted soybean flour. The cook shares some with the house. You're handed a dish of warabi mochi dusted generously in kinako. The mochi is soft, almost gelatinous, and yields instantly under your chopsticks. It tastes like roasted nuts and molasses, nothing sharp, nothing showy. A comfort sweet. The kind of food you eat when no one expects you to perform. In the evening, a special guest arrives. Not famous, not noble. Just a man from a nearby town, newly wealthy, trying on luxury like a borrowed kimono. He's nervous, overeager. He asks what your favorite dish is. You lie again, this time with a smile, chrysanthemum petals steeped in sake. He laughs confused and you change the subject. Dinner is brought in from his estate kitchen, rich, heavy, almost absurd. There's kabayaki eel glazed in syrupy soy and mirin. Thick slices of kamaboko fish cake dyed pink and white. A bowl of chawanmushi savory egg custard with shrimp and ginkgo nuts. You serve him with grace, laugh at his jokes, nibble only when he insists. Later, once he's gone, the cook sets aside a small portion of the custard for you. Was cool now, the surface collapsed slightly, but still delicious. You eat it in 2 bites, the texture silky, the shrimp surprisingly sweet. You don't say anything, but she can tell by your pause that it meant something. Before bed, you're gifted another leftover, this time by a fellow courtesan. Too full, she whispers, handing you a sticky rice ball wrapped in lotus leaf. You unwrap it in your room fingers, trembling slightly from the day. Inside is gobo and carrot sautéed and tucked into the center. You bite slowly, the earthiness of the burdock rooting you once more in this strange, drifting life. Tonight, you go to sleep without lighting the candle. You lie in the dark, full in the quiet way that matters, belly soothed, soul, balanced, dreams gently nudged by kinako sweetness and the smoky finish of grilled mackerel. The air is colder this morning, sharp, the kind that creeps beneath your robes and clings to your bones. You shiver as you sit up, your breath visible in the dim room. Winter is coming early this year. It settles into the wooden floors, the paper walls, and into your joints. You wrap your shawl tighter and make your way down to the kitchen, where warmth is already gathering, like steam around the old iron stove. The cook has started something hearty. You can smell it before you see it, zony New Year's soup, though it's not yet the season. Someone must have requested it early out of nostalgia or grief. Inside the pot, thick slabs of mochi carrots carved into plum blossoms, shiitake mushrooms, and handfuls of leafy greens floating in a clear, lightly salty dashi. You're given a bowl from the edge, no fish, no fancy cuts, just broth, rice cake, and wilted vegetables. But the mochi is soft, gooey, and fills you like a warm hand pressed against your ribs. You eat crouched beside the stove. The warmth from the fire seeps into your knees. With each bite, you feel something like safety, like a lullaby hummed against your spine. Afterward, you help chop more vegetables, your fingers red from cold water, but steady. The cook trusts you now. You don't speak as you work. You just listen to the bubbling of pots, the hum of the other girls waking upstairs, the sound of your own breath rising and falling. At midday, the house is quiet. The sky outside turns dull and colorless. You take your lunch outside anyway, onto the narrow walkway beside the garden. It's simple today, leftover barley rice and natto fermented soybeans served with mustard and a splash of soy sauce. The smell is sharp, earthy, a little jarring. You stir it briskly, breaking the stickiness with practiced hands, then lift it to your mouth. The taste is strange, always has been, but familiar now. Astringent, nutty, warm. A taste you've learned to crave, not for its flavor, but for what it does. It stays in your belly. It holds you. You hear the wind rustling the dry bamboo stalks as you eat. For once, you let yourself be slow. You finish every bite, then lick your fingers clean, uncaring if anyone sees. Later, a girl from the lower house offers you half a steamed daifuku mochi, filled with crushed chestnut and bean paste. It's crumbly and sweet, sticking to your teeth. You thank her and share your last pickled radish in return. These are your trade goods now, not jewels, not fans, but scraps of flavor, moments of generosity disguised as exchange. Evening arrives fast and hard. The sun is gone before the guests arrive, and tonight they are loud, boisterous, drunk before the second round of food is served. You are requested for laughter, not music. You comply. There are trays stacked with winter delicacies, kabocha pumpkin, glazed with sweet soy shirai, mashed tofu and sesame dressing, over blanched greens, piping hot bowls of odon with daikon soft enough to cut with chopsticks. You are offered bite after bite, and you decline politely, graciously, always smiling. You're not hungry, you say. You are starving. But the performance requires lightness, not appetite. Only after the guests depart does the kitchen open again. A few scraps are saved, one piece of tofu soaked in dashi, one half of a simmered egg. You and another woman sit at the back, sharing without words. She hands you a slice of sweet potato roasted and slightly charred at the edges. You take it, hold it in your mouth like a treasure. It tastes like fire and sugar and patience. Later you find an apple in your room. Small, bruised on one side, left anonymously on your cushion. You don't ask who placed it there. You peel it slowly with your fingernail and eat each piece in silence, letting the juice run down your chin. You fall asleep, sticky warm, and for tonight, without ache. The frost has arrived. You feel it the moment your bare feet touch the wooden floor, sharp, biting a warning from the season itself. The air is still, and everything outside the paper walls looks dipped in silver rooftops, powdered in white garden stones, iced over the koi pond, stilled under a glassy film. Your breath is a visible cloud as you exhale. You dress quickly, layering your robes more than usual, but you know it won't help much. The house is drafty. Cold slips through every seam. Downstairs, the kitchen fire is already roaring. You gravitate toward it like a moth, hands outstretched, sleeves pulled tight around your wrists. The cook is boiling okayu rice porridge again. It's thinner than usual, more water than grain, but she's stirred in slivers of ginger and a few strands of pickled mustard greens. The scent is medicinal bracing. You cup the bowl close to your lips, the steam warming your face. Each spoonful is soft, bland, familiar. It slides down easily. You eat slowly, not because you're savoring it, but because rushing would mean finishing too soon. This warmth is borrowed, and you don't want to give it back just yet. Later in the morning, the house mother gifts each girl a yolken sweet, dense, jellied red bean, sliced into perfect rectangles and wrapped in waxed paper. For strength, she says, though, her voice carries no affection. You bow and tuck it away for later. Not out of politeness, but strategy. You've learned the value of saving sweetness for nightfall. Midday is still and quiet, broken only by the sound of snow slipping from tiled roofs. You're called to help organize a lacquerware cabinet, no entertainment today. While you work, another attendant slips you a roasted rice cracker, senbei brushed with soy sauce and still warm from the hearth. You break it in half and share it wordlessly with her. The crunch echoes in the silent room. In the late afternoon, a guest arrives unannounced, alone with wine on his breath and melancholy in his eyes. He requests a light meal and your company, not for laughter, not for flirtation, but for quiet. You oblige. He's served a tray of nabe hot pot filled with tofu napa cabbage leeks and paper-thin pork, all simmering in a clay bowl at the center of the table. You ladle broth for him, refill his sake cup, and steal a few bites when offered. You take mostly cabbage and broth. The pork you let pass, too rich on an empty stomach. But the cabbage is divine, melted soft, soaked in warmth and flavor, edged with salt and sweetness. It reminds you of your mother's winter stew back in a life you barely claim anymore. When he leaves, the remaining broth is offered to the staff. You're handed a bowl, the surface glistening with sesame oil. You cradle it as if it might vanish. You sip. It burns your tongue and soothes your soul. That night upstairs in your room, you finally unwrap the yokon. It's firm, slightly tacky. You cut it with your thumbnail and place a piece on your tongue. It melts slowly, releasing the earthy sweetness of red beans and just a hint of molasses. You chew once. Let the rest dissolve. Outside, the snow is falling again, this time sticking. You lie down with the taste still in your mouth, the memory of cabbage and fire lingering in your chest. You're warm enough for now, full enough for tonight, and sleep takes you like snowfall, quiet, soft, complete. The world outside is white. You sit by the window in the early morning light, your knees drawn to your chest, watching snowflakes drift like ash over the garden stones. Everything is silent. Even the sparrows have vanished from the eaves. The only sound is the gentle crack of wood settling under the cold. You haven't moved yet. Part of you wants to stay here unmoving, cocooned in your robes, warm from your own breath. But duty calls as it always does. You rise slowly, your joints stiff with sleep, and pull on an extra layer before heading toward the kitchen. Today's breakfast is a mercy miso soup, with tofu and sliced mushrooms simmering gently, releasing a steam so thick it fogs the corners of the room. There's also fresh rice, soft, hot, unadorned. The cook ladles soup into your bowl without a word and passes you a small dish of takuan pickled yellow radish. It's pungent, crunchy, and oddly cheerful against the dreariness outside. You sit close to the stove to eat. You take small bites of radish between mouthfuls of soup, letting the salt and vinegar keep you alert. The tofu melts on your tongue, its smoothness a balm against the cold. The mushrooms add a quiet umami that lingers after you swallow. As the house wakes, a young girl stumbles into the kitchen, her fingers blue from washing linens in the outer courtyard. You break your rice ball in half and hand her the warmer piece. She doesn't thank you, just sits beside you, chewing slowly, the heat returning to her hands. Later in the morning, you're summoned to entertain a traveling calligrapher, a man of few words and many silences. He asks only for tea and someone to drink it with. You bring out hojicha roasted green tea with a nutty, almost smoky aroma. He nods in approval and offers you a small wrapped bundle in return dried sweet potato slices, leathery and amber gold. You tuck the gift into your sleeve and thank him with a bow. When the session ends, you return to the kitchen for a second cup of tea and slip away to a quiet corner of the house. Unwrap the sweet potato and tear off a piece with your teeth. It's chewy, sugary, dense with flavor. A little sticky, a little tough, but satisfying in a deep, grounding way. You savor every fiber. Evening falls early now. Shadows lengthen fast and the lanterns are lit before you've finished brushing your hair. Tonight's guest is gentle and elderly woman who once trained as a courtesan herself, now wealthy and well-dressed. She asks for stories, not service. She brings with her a gift, zaru soba, cold buckwheat noodles, served with dipping sauce, grated daikon, and shredded nori. Not typical winter food, but it's her favorite. She invites you to eat with her, and you do. The soba is nutty and firm, dipped lightly into the chilled tsuyu. The bite of daikon clears your nose and the nori melts like ocean mist. You eat slowly, grateful for every slurp, every cooling mouthful that somehow still warms you from the inside out. After she leaves, the cook hands you a surprise, a small roasted kabocha squash halved and filled with a spoonful of red beans and a trickle of honey. You take it to your room, cradling it like treasure. You light a single candle, sit cross-legged on your futon, and eat the squash one bite at a time, the skin soft, the flesh sweet, the beans earthy. You lick your fingers when you're done, then drink the rest of your tea in silence. Tonight the snow falls heavier. The wind howls outside. But you are warm. Not from fire. From food. From kindness. From the accumulation of small comforts that have carried you this far. You wake before dawn, not to sound or obligation, but to silence so complete it feels sacred. The house is still. The fire hasn't yet been stoked. The snow outside lies thick, undisturbed, a perfect white sheet over the world. You stay in bed for a long time, wrapped in all the robes you own, waiting for the ache in your fingers to fade. The cold is sharp today, but beneath it is something else, something quieter, a sense of ending. The season is turning, even if the wind hasn't caught up. Eventually you rise and head toward the kitchen, each step slow measured. The hallway smells faintly of burnt wood and stale tea. When you enter, the cook gives you a small nod and points to a waiting bowl. Inside is ozoni again, this time richer, creamier, made with white miso, thick mochi, and root vegetables cut into perfect hexagons. You take it in your hands, warming your palms around the lacquer. The broth is velvety and sweet, the mochi so soft it threatens to dissolve between your teeth. You chew slowly, grateful for the silence, for the dignity of a warm meal served without spectacle. There's also a small grilled ayu sweetfish, lightly salted, charred at the edges. You eat it head to tail, pulling bones carefully between your fingers. The taste is clean, river-bright, nostalgic. You haven't eaten fish like this since before you came to the city. You spend the rest of the morning helping to fold winter garments for storage. The sleeves still carry faint scents, incense, plum blossom sweat. You fold them with care, as if tucking away moments of yourself, as if preserving something fragile. Later, when the sun reaches its highest point, you receive a gift. A former client, now moved to the coast, has sent a parcel wrapped in rice paper and tied with twine. Inside mirin-drenched konbu, a jar of salted cherry blossoms, and 3 hand-pressed onigiri. Each is wrapped in bamboo leaf and labeled with care, pickled mustard greens, plum and bonito. You take them to the veranda, find a quiet spot in the sun, and unwrap them slowly, one by one. The mustard greens are sharp and grassy, the plum harsh and bright, the bonito deep and smoky. None of them are refined. None of them are elegant. But they are yours. You eat them all. By evening, your body feels heavier, but in a good way. Not tired, anchored. Satisfied. The house is subdued tonight. No guests, no demands. Just you, a quiet room, and a tray left outside your door. On it, a single slice of Castella sponge cake, soft and golden. You carry it inside and eat it in bed, pinching off pieces with your fingers and licking the sugar from your nails. The candlelight flickers gently as you lie back, your belly full, your mind quiet. You stare at the ceiling and think of all the things you've tasted in this place, the salt of seaweed, the sour punch of plum, the impossible sweetness of stolen chestnuts. You think of cold noodles in summer, pickles in winter, rice in every season. And you realize food has been your anchor. In a world of performance, it has remained the only truth. It has soothed you, surprised you, sustained you. It has reminded you of who you were before, and who you still are beneath the paint, the silk, the names not your own. You fall asleep with your hands resting gently over your stomach. A final thought floating behind your eyes. You have eaten well. You have lived. You have endured. Let yourself lie still now. Breathe in slowly, as if drawing in the steam from a warm bowl of miso. Feel it fill your chest, soft and nourishing. Then exhale like the clatter of chopsticks placed gently beside an empty tray. Tonight you've wandered through candle-lit kitchens and quiet corners of ancient Japan, through silken rooms and snowy gardens, through hunger and satisfaction, sweetness and salt. You've sat in silence with pickled plums and grilled eel, shared stolen mochi, tasted warmth where none was offered. And now your mind is full not of noise or thoughts, but of calm, of quiet abundance. The kind that doesn't shout but lingers, like the taste of barley tea sipped alone after the guests have gone. Let your body grow heavy. Let your breath deepen. Your limbs are warm from imaginary hearths. Your spirit wrapped in rice paper, soft and safe. You don't have to remember every dish. Not the sesame glaze or the fish bones or the subtle tartness of vinegar. Just remember the feeling, the care, the small kindnesses passed hand to hand. The truth that even in a life of illusion, nourishment was real. Your eyes may flutter now. Your breath may slow. Let the world outside dissolve like sugar on the tongue. Let dreams come. Let sleep hold you gently, as if laying down a lacquer tray for the final time. You've had enough for today. You are full. You are safe. You are home.